Hi guys, in today's episode of Taylor Talks Trades, we are speaking to Jonathon Morrice from Newtown Renovations. A really good, authentic and honest conversation. I hope you enjoy it. Well Jonathan, welcome along.
Thank you.
I always start with, how did you get into the trades then?
How did they get into the trade? Well, it happened about, I think, 2008. I was travelling with my wife, and it was the recession when we were away, so we literally just emailed every company you could think of, joinery-wise, to see about taking on. And then eventually, one guy got back to me who owned Newtown, and I started doing like a day or two working for him, but he was just sash and case windows, he wasn't the full joinery works, whereas obviously I was a joiner to trade, so I wanted to do all the joinery works, and then it just kind of built up from 1-2 days to 5, 6, 7 days a week working with him. And yeah, it kind of went on, but he only wanted to specialise in sash and case, so we kind of brought in joinery here and there, and then he eventually retired in 2012, so I bought the company over. Right. And then just combined joinery. We're renowned for sash and case, but also combined my joinery side into it, and kind of
that's where the renovation side's come in. Yeah. What about a wee bit further back? Like, how did you first become an apprentice? Like, is that where it started? Was it?
No, I wish I was that young. At school, I loved, like, is it CDT? It's called. Yeah. Is that what you get at school?
Aye.
What did you?
32.
I'm not asking you, anyway. Kind of old user. At school, I loved CDT, techie. I loved that kind of stuff, and I wasn't the best at school. I was always kind of kicked out all the time, but I was like near the end. I hate exams. I hate studying for stuff. I'm just typically pretty good with my hands.
Hands on. Aye.
So it came to, like, it wasn't the greatest up to third year at school, got kicked out for a while, and then came back, kind of knuckled down a bit, and I kind of spent like third, fourth year in the techie department, like full time. My teachers were like, we're not really fussed about you studying, just go into the techie department, CDT, and I always remember I actually it got on really well with everybody, and everybody knew I wasn't say I was the school clown, but everybody was like, right, he's an idiot, but he's actually not bad at joinery works. So I kind of just went there full time, all the time, and then ended up making tables, and end up selling them to all the teachers. So it was pretty good that side, and I always kind of wanted to be a joiner.
Aye. So you're already in business for then.
Well, I wish I could do carpentry, but when I kind of grew up, family-wise, we never really had a lot of money anyway, so we done everything in the house ourselves, trades-wise, so I was always kind of trade-minded.
Yep.
And I always wanted to be a joiner, but when I left school, I couldn't get a joinery apprenticeship, so I ended up getting an engineering apprenticeship.
Right.
Really good money. But I always wanted to be a joiner, and I lasted like a month, and then I got a job with a local joinery company.
Yep. And
then it just kind of progressed through there.
That's good, aye.
So, but I spent my 4 years with them and left after my time because I wanted to expand my knowledge and also get a lot more. You know what it's like, certain companies specialise in certain stuff, and just kind of learn a bit more.
Learn other bits of the trade, there's just so much out there,
there's loads of different bits. There is a lot, like, like, you don't know what sell with, like, roofing, and other trades, people just think you put tiles on, Well, actually do, what else do you do?
Exactly. It's like, but in between all the bits of roofing, there's all the different categories, do you know, it's like whether it's slating, tile and flat roof, and then there's like unlimited amounts of like flat roof systems, different, do you know, there's just so many different elements to it. But see, that was an interesting point what you said there, at school. Do you think that should be a route that the schools go down? And in terms of, if somebody's switched off academically, should they start saying, look, this isn't your strengths, but this really is? Because it must have been fairly obvious that you were going to be a joiner. You had that set, you could see what you're doing in CDT. But that's like, I think your strengths, do you know what I mean? I was the same at school, I wasn't academic. I was always going to be in the trades, I felt. I was, my dad was a builder, done concrete floors and all stuff like that. And I just always thought I'll just always be in the trades. And then he was like, you need to get yourself a real trade. And then I chose roofing. So obviously made a mistake there. But nah, and in all seriousness, like, do you know,
I think it definitely is, because you know yourself when you were at school, whether it be any tradesperson looking at or any job, there's always people that, and I was in that class that I wasn't the best mathematical, I wasn't the best at studying or that, but you know, when you're good at something, you kind of just swerve to that and just leave everything else. And like at school, you were never really pushed with certain stuff. You were just kind of like, you had your, whatever it is you get class-wise, but there was always people that led towards PE, led towards science, and then
Aye.
they end up being teachers and that. So
Yep.
I think it's a massive thing at school that you should be like pushed on more into it as well. I always remember it leaving school, like I think it was fourth year, fifth year. I can't remember leaving it as they brought someone in that was like a motivational speaker, and I remember I'm like what's this guy? Yeah, what's this about? I'll know honestly. I remember like yesterday leaving there like on top of the world, thinking this guy's amazing. Eh? Like stuff you can do, because see at school you were never taught about positive. You were never, and everything is negative. Everything you thought at school was like it was all negative, and this guy came in, and I can't actually remember what he'd said or done, but I remember leaving there, and it was a wee bit like it obviously was a motivational speaker, but leaving there thinking like I can be a joiner, I will be a joiner, even though I've not got the best grades. I know for a fact I'll be able to do that.
Brilliant.
And I think like the way the world is social media and that is, it paints false pictures, but people are led to believe at a young age that there isn't any positive anywhere. Everything's negative. You turn on the radio, it's negative. Turn on TV, it's negative, and you try your best to push certain stuff to people. And I'm not one of these go happy guys that are constantly positive all the time, but I try my best with work, family, kids, and that push to positive sides, because you know yourself, like even like obviously with your fitness side of things, is the swimming and that is doing certain stuff. It just makes it a lot easier.
Definitely.
Like wake up in the morning, I actually get in the worst mood ever if I didn't go to training or go to the gym. It kills me. Whereas when you do that, you just like breath of fresh air.
And do you think, Jonathan, that you could see yourself then maybe going back into schools and having a chat with maybe some of the S3, S4 pupils and saying...
Do you know what's funny? It's me and Alex had a chat about this not long ago, and I thought to myself, like, I didn't want to blow my trumpet because I'm not a multi-millionaire and I'm not like well renowned for that. But
add value to kids, you know.
I just thought like the story that I've kind of been brought up where there's 90% of people in my area that's like that as well. Like to see there is a light at the end of the tunnel. If they're not great at school, or even if they're great at school, they might think they're amazing at school, but they might think they're not going to be that teacher, or they're not going to be this, or they're going to be that. Like they really need a bit of encouragement. And I have thought a wee bit about going back to school to like do a motivational talk, but just say, listen, there is light there, and you will be able to do half the stuff. You just need to focus on it and show what you're good at, whether it's a football player or biology teacher or anything. You will manage to do it, because like you're saying is, if they come through at 15, 16, 17 and they've got a vision, they know exactly where they want to do, whether they go into trade or they go into anything else. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when you got people for school, it was like you had to pick them up, go through their door, knock on the doors and wake them up. Whereas if somebody's got a wee bit motivational about them, they're going to be bouncing into work. And it makes our job a lot easier if somebody turns up every day a bit happier and obviously is willing to learn. It takes it away from somebody that's know what to learn, heeds on the ground all the time and never want to talk to anybody.
Definitely.
I think that helps massively also with mental health as well. Like it turns people around. We've tried it with our guys, just how we chat with people, and like we have like a happy Friday, like everybody's happy and just have a wee bit of banter, and I think it changes massively with people.
You've just got to always be doing your best, just trying to make other people feel good, and it definitely works. No, that's good. And I think so see, like when we're talking about kids there, right? And like for example, like you might be no great at maths, no great in English, but you do like the CDT side of things, the joinery and stuff like that. Did you feel that it was easier? Like, so see now that you, like when you get into joinery and you need to then put, like, to try and explain it better. So for me being in roofing, like I wasn't good at maths or anything like that, but I'm good at roofing maths. Like I know specifically just the stuff around there that I need to know, but like I probably wouldn't know very much if you sat me down and put me through a maths exam. Did you find that once you find the focus, then you can actually bring the other areas up?
Definitely, because it's like, see if I always remember at school I was into football, so everything when our teacher was trying to relate something, and it was always related with football.
Football analogy,
because then you can relate to it a lot.
Aye.
And then it's like with other things as well. It's like with joinery, or also you're saying with roofing, is when you bring that into whether it's English, geography, or that, you can relate to it a lot better. And then, like you're saying, you could probably do like, what would you say for joinery, like square meterages and that.
Aye, exactly. Pretty, same with roofing.
Pretty straightforward. But see if you got me a test down the way, you'd be like, oh no, where do I start? But then it's like a wee light goes on with somebody when they relate to it quite a lot.
And then you build the confidence as you start maybe measuring things and and getting used to it, and you go, oh, I've got that right now. You build that confidence, then you can eventually, as you tie it back there, it's like you get the motivation because you go, well, actually, I'm good at maths, but specifically to what my trade is or whatever the industry is that they go into. So taking us on a wee bit, mate. You did kind of touch on the transition bit. So you were on the tools, and then you sort of transitioned over to start your own business. You took that over for somebody. Is that how that kind of worked? So
yeah, so I bought the company. So I already kind of worked for myself anyway. Was self-employed for a good 4 or 5 years anyway, and then obviously here I shouldn't retired 2012, and I just bought the name. It was really the name, that was it. There was no customer care or anything like that, nothing, and I just kind of built everything up from there. Pretty much started from scratch, and then just came up again. Good.
And for the outside looking in, it looks like you really look after your customers, mate.
Definitely. We try our best, aye. We do try our best on it, like, aye, definitely. But customers are a big thing, you know yourself, with any company, whether it's a trade or, I don't know, anybody else is, if you haven't got customers, you're not going to go anywhere. And I'm probably too nice, to be honest, but I've just had a bit of hassle for the office because I'm too nice to customers and getting stuff for free, but I just can't be bothered with hassle. I just, honestly, I think I seen something not long ago, and it was like, somebody told me the other day that 2 + 2 was 5, and I agreed with them because I can't be bothered with the hassle. And that's where you are, You're like, do you know what? Aye, that's fine. If you want it for £1, you can have it for £1, or you want it free within reason.
I get that.
You're like, you can have it for free because
there's a bit of a battle trying to get somebody like to see something through your eyes, and like sometimes like the customer can sometimes know that they're probably like, I know he's not really said that, but he's a nice guy and I'll just push on it a wee bit. And you probably sometimes just got to go, right, we'll take care of that for you. But there's probably always a line, and that's a bit where business gets a bit difficult because for probably, I haven't
got a line, That's the hardest thing, I'm just like, you know what, whatever, I can't even be bothered with it. It's just the case, like, somebody's like, that's £200 or that's £300, and it's into your profit, and it's you that's paying for it, and I'm like, we couldn't care it. I just want the job done. I want the customer happy.
I'm needing my kitchen done, so I'm not to come. I'm get it off my No, but and what's kind of the transition there kind of been then for just literally? What's your kind of day to day now? Like, are you still on the tools and hands on, or are you looking after the rest of the team? What's the makeup there?
It's funny because everybody you speak to, or everybody in business, whether it's on LinkedIn, they're in games to retire or have 10 days on the golf course or whatever it is. Mine is to get back on the tools. I love the tools, and I want to get back on the tools, but see, it's hard now, you know yourself, with all the guys is try to manage them. We didn't have contracts managers or anything like that, so my day to day is like between 8 and 10 is touching in with all the guys, checking up all the jobs, and then I try and get back to the office to do paperwork, but I'm always pulled away, and the phone's constantly going non-stop, so
that's a busy
place, I try to get the calendar sorted. Friday's usually my quoting day. I do quotes on Fridays, and then I have like the Monday to Thursday to kind of get sent to clients, but I think it's very hard. I go through spells. I'm not saying I've got the perfect diary, but I go through spells of it being great, and it's good getting a structure in place. But it takes 2 or 3 jobs to kind of destroy that, and then you find you're like constantly there, and there. And I didn't think I've sat in the office for the past 3 weeks, I don't think, because I've just constantly been in there for 2 minutes, touch base, and then I end up just speaking to the office staff on the phone on the way in. So I'm definitely not a role model when it comes to that kind of thing.
See, to be honest, mate, you've just got to find a way to survive and just go on with it. And then when you can get the highs, like take the highs. I know certainly a lot of people might look for the outside looking in at me and think, Jamie just sits and does podcasts all the time. Like, my business is crazy.
I think that as well.
My business is crazy. You know, it's like that isn't the case. It's like, this is probably, I could have been doing without this today, but I put it in.
You could have just cancelled them. I cancelled the new a couple of weeks ago.
But the thing is, it's like, I've set it up, I've done it for a reason. I want to give something back into the industry. I want people to see how good the trades are. I want them to see the real highs and the lows. And I've committed to it. So it's just another commitment, and that's part of it. But it's no sunshine and rainbows all the time. Even at my level, like, we've got the general manager in there, the surveyors doing the sales and getting the jobs in, and supervisors and a big team and all of that. But you still get drawn in, and it's when you've it's sort of almost that thing. And probably before we started, we were talking about Alan Smith there, and he touches on it. It's like, you can either be the superhero or the people builder, and it's like, to try and not be that superhero is very hard, because you know you can fix it for your team in that moment. And when, like my sort of style is probably what people would call a harmonizer, and I just like to make sure everybody's all right and things are moving. And it's like sometimes that's the worst thing you can do, because then they never build up their own capabilities.
Aye.
So
My downside, that I get also a bit hassle for Alan on it, is I'm too paranoid and I don't trust anybody. I'm constantly checking on people all the time.
yeah,
And
like
it's
micromanaging kind of.
aye, you tell me about the 1 minute monkey or something, eh? I don't think he was talking about me or no, eh? But I did read the book actually, to be honest, but we've got a couple of wee snippets of it, but nothing major. But it's just, it's hard to trust people.
Yeah,
it's hard to like you're like checking, you're like, is it all right? Is it all right? Oh, it's perfect. It's great. And I'm like, he's not got the standards for I have, eh? And my name's on the door, eh? So I'm no. Most of the guys are honestly like 90% of the guys are I would trust, but I've been brought up to just constantly check on people, eh? And that's a massive thing for me that I need to kind of step back a wee bit. But it's very hard, like you're saying, also your surveyors and that. It's hard to trust tough, people,
mate.
eh?
It's tough, like
because what happens if it goes wrong?
Well, the now for us, like my business is in the hand of my surveyors. They're the ones that are bringing the business in. Like I'm not even out quoting the jobs anymore. So, like if you think
you do send in on, eh?
It seems that way, but I'm constantly training them, coaching them, you know, multiple different meetings, trying to get all the teams to speak to each other. It's like, it was one thing letting go of operations, but actually letting go of sort of sales is like, that has been scary, and that's a journey that I'm still going through. And there's probably the highs and lows of that as well. The highs is when you're like, this is great, everything's fine, let's starting podcasts and that. And then the next bit's almost where you're like, whoa, like it doesn't just happen that easy. There's going to be a lot of hard work. And like, as much as I'm quite into my personal development and always trying to grow and develop, it's like, I think the pinnacle of that has been able to influence others to get them on that journey and try and get them out of raise as well. Because our company's grew quite reasonably quick, and it's always sort of in a growth phase. One of our main values is growth, and it's like sometimes it is hard to just keep going and keep going and keep going. So you've got to build that sort of resilience in people.
It's funny because I think everybody, if you relate to LinkedIn, is everybody looks at it and it kind of paints false pictures of loads of things. Because I remember I must be a year or two ago, everybody was talking about values, and I was like, Alan, I didn't have a clue what my values are. And he was like, but I was like, I didn't. And then I just like, I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon that everybody's blasting their values everywhere. And I was like, when the time comes, it comes. And to be fair, we sat down about 3 months ago and done it. And then I actually realised, I was like, that now it makes sense. Eh? Now I can see kind of why, but I still need to have that training day with the guys to go through it with you. So it's a hard one.
That's the thing as well. I think, that's an amazing point that you're making there. On the face of LinkedIn, it's easy for a company to say, that's our values, we've got all this sorted out. And from my point of view on LinkedIn, I'll put the high zone and the low zone, because I'm quite authentic in that sense, that I didn't want people to think it's a kid-owned journey. I think the value in sharing the highs and the lows is the bit that makes you unique. But like our values, it's like we've got new people coming into the team all the time, and it's like I couldn't say every single one of my team members knows like off by heart like what them values are, and it's never about that. It's actually just been on a work in progress. And I think as well, like I'd made an analogy the other day there to our general manager about, like, see when you get a health and safety audit maybe done, and they maybe say, right, you've got this to be better, that to be better, this to be better. They come back, and as long as you're making progress towards all the things, you're on your way. It's not like they're like, look, we'll come back next week, we'll shut you down because you've not done it. And I think that's what, hopefully for the audience watching this or listening to this, is let's see what the real stories are. And I appreciate your honesty on that. It's like going, well, we've got the values, but I've not had the training day with the guys yet. It's like, how hard is it in business to get all the guys off the tools? It costs a fortune.
I done it for a day.
And it's very difficult.
It was a day, 2 days, I think. It was a day. And I was just like, right, we'll have to have this day out, day there, get Alan down, get everybody thing. And it was a great day. Got really good feedback. Eh?
Yep.
But then, like you're saying, you're up. And then it only takes a wee tippet to be like, that's 14 people sitting there. Their wages for the whole day. You don't, and then you're like, oh no. And then you're like, oh, we're not having another day like that again, eh? Yeah. And then, to be fair, I kind of worked out. We've actually got training days this week, Thursday, Friday. Yeah. I was just like, right, get everybody in, get it done. And then it's like, well, why not just get a quarter of people in, or 3 or 4 in at a time, and then 3 or 4. And I was like, oh, I never actually thought of that way. So this week we've actually got 4 guys training on Thursday and four or five training on the Friday as well. just to break up, because like you're saying, you can't just shut down for a whole
It's
day.
difficult. I think that's one of the hardest parts, and I would say that like now that our business has grown to a point where it's starting to become kind of, it's actual departments now, whereas it just used to be like one guy kind of, like I used to maybe like do the sales and I'd be that, and then somebody be looking after operations and there'd be the girl in the office, and now it's like teams in each of them areas.
Yep.
And like you said, it's very difficult to have a business that's like churning out profits that you can literally just say, everybody, always come in and we'll go over all of this and make sure. So what you're actually trying to do is speak to sales, speak to operations, speak to admin, speak to finance, speak to marketing, speak to the actual boys that they're on the tools, and trying to tie that all together. And it's like this bit starts moving and you're like, yes, they're getting it. And then you need to go and tell these ones, and then you start telling them, and then you're like, oh, this has changed now, and it evolves as you go. And I just think just giving it your best shot and just going for it, and being resilient.
I
and
keep on saying to all the guys, we're going to have training days, or we're going to have this, we're going to do that, and then it was on the board like, this week's a training day, and I was like, right, this job's overrun, we need to do it. And then I was like, do you know what? I pulled everybody in, and I was like, listen, I'm trying my best here to get a training day done, or not even just a training day, just a general catch up.
Yeah,
it is going to come, but you need to appreciate that jobs need pushed on, and I need to weigh up, like, do we get them in here for a half a day, laughing giggles, or do we push jobs on and get money in? So it kind of weighs up that way. But it would be great to kind of like not shut down for a week, but like, to shut down, get guys in and get training and that. But then you have to look at a financial point of view. It's probably not going to work.
That's how it's so difficult. And then I think I'm really hope it sounds as though this episode's going to give a lot of hope to people out there that's maybe watching like LinkedIn or social media channels and looking and going, how are they all managing to do all this stuff with values and team away days? And the reality is, it's like that takes some severe effort, and you probably pay the price.
It took me about 2 years to do a training day.
The actual business owners, though, there's a lot of anxiety and stuff to, like, once you've stopped your business, grinded everything to a halt for that full day, and then to pick it back up again and get it moving, it's no easy.
No.
But what's the alternative? No trying to sharpen the saw at all. No trying to go back to the drawing board and say, like, this is where we're headed. And do you know? I think your team
we done a thing
needs that.
We done a thing with all the guys who sent an email to them and just said, like, where do you want to be in 6 months, or tell me what you think you're good at, or what you really need to improve on, and I'll give you my word that in the next 6 months or a time scale that will improve on it, and it's up to me to prove it, or I'll nominate somebody else to help you with it. But because, like you're saying with development, is you're just you're like a mouse in a trap. You just keep going and going, and you want to kind of everybody wants to learn. I want to learn stuff. Hamster wheel, sorry.
Mouse in a trap. That's probably sometimes feels like that as well.
It does, But everybody just thinks you're just constantly kind of on the go, and then you think, well, you didn't want the guys getting poached. You want them to feel wanted. You want them to feel valued as well, as like you were taking a wee bit of interest in their personal, and also their work is how we can improve them. Because I always say to my guys, like, see what you're doing at work, it's going to benefit you on the outside. The stuff we're doing here to try and make you speak better, read drawings or anything like that is going to improve you, especially with the young guys, is just getting them to chat to you and tell you what's wrong. Is that'll help you to go up between on a Saturday night. And if you're going to try and chat to somebody, if you remember going up between, you don't want to speak to anybody. You're just here at the feet, looking at the ground.
Is this dating advice and that as well? That
I'd make dating advice, trust me. No way. I'm no danger of dating advice with me.
And what do you think about sort of there is an obvious shortage, I think across all the industries, but certainly in the trades, this is
massive.
It's huge. Like, what, you've got a couple of apprentices, haven't you? Like, it's going to take a monumental effort to get us out of this. How do you see that going? Like,
it is hard. Like, we've got my first ever, first or second apprentice actually. He's still with me.
Yep.
So he's 8 years he's been with me.
Brilliant.
And
you're obviously doing something right then, mate. That's always
probably
a good sign.
too much. Now we've had our ups and downs with him. Like, I'm not going to lie, but he's turned corners. But he turns corners, then drops back again, turns corners. But to me, like you're saying, you need to invest in them,
Yeah.
And I was on the tools with him, so I look at him as being like my laddie, because I know for a fact he can do the work, because I made him do it, and he learnt for the best, but he learnt from me, so I kind of know he's capable. And that's why I say to all the guys, you need to spend a wee bit of time with them. I was like, aye. And I always say, every apprentice that comes to me is like, the first 6 months you're just in the shit. You're just sweeping, you're tidying, that's all you're doing. I'm not interested in you doing anything else, because we need to get the foundation sorted. If you didn't come out with Hoover and tidy up, there's no use you going into...
You'll never make a good tradesman without the right foundation.
And if you start with that, then you can build for that. And I say to them, like, you need to be prepared for the first 6 months of it being rubbish and you hating it. But then why should you get the cream straight away and you didn't have a clue how to sweep up or that? So I think 2 or 3 apprentices that we have got just now is all the guys are like, we need to look at them like, you look at it as yourself.
Yeah.
You need to like, and I say this to all the guys is, there's no point telling them 20 things because they're not going to take it in. Just focus on one thing and let them do it repeatedly, and then they can tick it off and say, I can actually do this, and then go to the next one. Because like you're saying, do you know how hard it is now? Try to get a tradesman.
I know.
How hard it is. And then you think, well, do you know what? And that's what I said to the guys, if we invest in first and second years, in a year or two's time, they actually want to be that far away that they'll potentially push on quite a bit, because at least if you've moulded them a bit, you trust them and you know where they are. Whereas Joe Blogg's coming in from the outside is demanding stupid money, wanting this and wanting that, and you're like, I'm not paying that. I'm not going to drop my standards just for somebody else, because the way the world is just now, we're crying out for tradesmen anywhere. It's the same with your work side of things as well. You just constantly say yes, yes, and then you get, do you know what? I need to reel it back in a bit, because we're just going to get destroyed for everybody, because we're not turning up and saying exactly where we are. So if we tighten it up a bit and say, well, do you know what? We'll feed these customers here because we've got the guys for it. We're not just going to hire agency guys because we didn't have a clue what they're like. It'll just
tough balance, mate. Eh?
I just spoke to somebody on the way up here actually, and he was telling me the guys want 900 quid for a shift on a Saturday. I says, I need to be that tradesman, like, definitely, I said to him, but in 6 months' time, he'll be back at you for his basic rate on a Saturday.
It's probably short-lived, mate. It really
that definitely is. The amount of phone calls I've had, I guess yourself and every tradesman out there has had just now, and guys are wanting like 30, 40 pound an hour, and you're like, it's not going to happen. Like, and I say, well, by the way, if you can take it, go and take it, because in 6 months' time, or near Christmas time, when it kind of drops a wee tiny bit, they're going to be crying at the door.
No one can sustain that.
No, they can't.
They can't sustain that. Like, that's not going to work long term. I think, from my point of view, it looks as though like we're definitely heading into some form of a recession, and I think
maybe negative.
No, there's a positive to it, but I think it is like with these things, it's the same as a pandemic. Like, look at all the businesses that's still there and came through that. And the recession, it's like, treat it with the respect it deserves. It's easy for people to say, look, if you didn't want to be negative, like turn the news off, turn social media off, you're going to see it. Let's face it, for the fact that there's a global pandemic or there's a recession or whatever it is, and just go, what can we do about that as a team to all get through it together? And that's probably the message.
Like lockdown,
Aye, that's the message I'll be sharing to my team. Look, we've just came through a global pandemic together, so let's go through this recession together as well. But let's be realistic. It's like the government gave it a lot of free money, and it kept us in business, and it probably kept the employees on board, and
it would be surprising to see over the next couple of years anyway, like who survives through it, because like you're saying, there was loads of grants out there that helped wonders with people, kept us afloat, kept other people afloat. But you've heard the stories and that of people like obviously just abusing the loans and everything like that. Is like the pandemic, you just have to ride with it and get over it. And like you're saying, is like at the beginning of it, my goal was just to survive this. That was it, survive it and get out the other side. Then
you get through and there's always something
and then there's
else.
Something
there's
else
wars
there.
And there's other and I'm not being negative, mate, at all. It's like it's been realistic and gone, because see, the thing is, it's like maybe if you're into your personal development and you're maybe working with business coaches, or you've got mentors and you've got a good networking group or whatever it might be, a lot of them people are saying, just turn the news off, just didn't do that. But see, your actual guys on the tools, on the ground, they listen to that stuff because they're like, well, they maybe no go to the circle around them. It says, just turn it off, it's all day rubbish or whatever. So
I think it is hard.
Trying to keep people like pushing in that same direction.
It's only kind of the last maybe 2-3 years I've noticed massively, and there's like obviously there's loads of sayings and signages out there. Is like, surround yourself with people that obviously you know, like you want to be, or because you've been there where you're constantly in the group, and there's always the negative people. A good friend of mine's like the poison, Then they bring the poison in, So you just kind of, you're like, I don't want any poison in the camp, just get out of there. But you surround yourself with these people because...
Oh, your friend says that, or is this one of your friends you're talking about?
I wish I had friends like it, but a guy I know.
I thought you were like, he's poison,
That's
it makes sense,
but you know yourself,
it kind of circulates.
From a business, whether it be trades or any businesses, you're going to have that dip. If you have that dip, you can phone up another guy who owns a business or that, and there's always something to say around it, and it helps you, because you know you're not just hitting your head off a wall. And I say that to the guys as well, is like, there's stuff that you can kind of chat about. I'm not going to get too personal with everybody, but when you come into work with that wee bit of positive, it helps mental health, and it helps you. I'm a big believer in it, because I've been there years ago, and you turn up to work and you get treated like you crap money, and you think, what am I even doing here? But then, that's a big thing with our business, is like try to treat people with respect and make them valued, because I've been that person. And then I always remember when you're an apprentice, and whether it was an older joiner or an older sparker, that's even they knew my first name, or they called me my first name, you got that little buzz, you're like, somebody actually knows me, that's actually pretty good. So I try that with all the guys, and like tell their names, or like introduce a big thing with us is introduce yourself to the client, give them your name, because there's nothing better if a client knows your name rather than just hi mate or hey you over there. You're like, who is that? And it makes them feel wanted, eh? And that's why I say to the guys, like, come in with that attitude that not everything's going to be perfect, but if you come in with a wee bit positive and look at the brighter side, see when the darker side does come, you'll survive it a lot better, because you know what you're obviously before is not a lot of people kind of done positive and everything was down in gloom, and then the minute positive comes, so if you get that, the minute you hit a dark spell, it'll be easier to come back out again.
Makes sense, and you kind of need the negative to then
do,
remember, like, oh, that was quite positive.
To grow.
Sometimes you didn't realise you're in the positive when you're in it till you see the negative and go, I should have maybe been a bit more grateful during that period. But
definitely,
life's busy, and especially as a business owner, for everybody, life is busy, and it's always just straightforward. Everything's going at 100 miles an hour, and you didn't often take a chance to actually breathe and go, I didn't think I've had a
breath in about 5 years, like, to be honest. I went on holiday and it was full steam ahead between trying to shut off, phone was going constant, and I've got 2 young kids. So I was getting battered with them in the pool, eh? So you kind of put work aside for an hour, and then you get battered with the kids, and then you get made to play football non-stop, eh? And obviously, in this 25 degrees, eh? My skin and the heat isn't great.
How do you stay so positive, mate, with all this going on?
Just need to try it. I wasn't like this a few years ago, to be honest, eh? But I think a massive thing for me is Alan, like, eh? Definitely, he's
getting
like,
a mentor on board.
Definitely get a coach on board. I was against it, but I was always looking at negative stuff, and I just came to the point where I was like, bar 50-50 business with somebody, you need help, eh? And you need help.
Do you think there's a stigma around business coaching and mentorship?
Do you know what's funny? I just seen something the other day from someone. It was the guys from Dragon's Den. Stephen, somebody, is it?
Steve Bartlett.
He said something, and I thought, no, I'm going to disagree with him, because he was like, I think it was something like, you didn't need a business coach. I never had one, this and that. And I actually thought, well, I actually didn't need one. And then I got one because I felt I needed it, and it's been the best thing for me. So I think anybody going forward should look at it. Us, and it's not cheap. But here's a new car, and here's a holiday, eh? So it's an investment.
Depends what you want. Eh?
It's exactly what you want.
Depends what you want to improve on.
You need to weigh up like the costs, eh? Like straight away, I didn't say I could afford all this. I just thought, well, you know what? It has to happen, eh? I need it, and whether you use some of the bounce back loan for it to invest in it, I thought, well, do you know what? Let's take it for there. But it has been the best thing for me, definitely, because it's opened my eyes up to a lot of things, and obviously helped me progress a lot further. And then there's always a mental health side of it as well, because when you start meeting other people, you realise you're not in that boat. There's other people that are there with you to help you, and you feel a bit better, because then you feel you can open up to people and say, I had that job was rubbish, or any help on this, and the community is amazing in it. Like, so there's so many nice people that are willing to help you. People you think they're just like stuck up, but you think, I can't talk to them, eh? They'll literally come across and speak to you. And then you're like back in school, they know my name, eh? They're a millionaire over there, eh?
Nah, it's good. I think there is a bit of a stigma around it. I first started working with a business coach, like, I think it was just the tail end of 2016. I was sort of self-employed, just going into, like, I was a self-employed roofer and had a few guys working for me, basically. And then it was in 2017 that, like, we took the company limited and sort of Taylor Roofs is what it is now. And to be honest, it's like, you're going back, 6 years or whatever, but that, a lot of the stuff I learned then, it just didn't seem relevant at all. But then as the years went on, it was like all these light bulb moments started happening. I was like, that is all coming together now, and it just takes time and persistence and patience, I guess, and resilience when it's not going good.
It's good, the light bulb moments, so, eh?
Oh,
it's good, eh? You're like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And then it's just like, bing.
And sometimes that can be like the nicest, like the smallest thing, where, like, you bump into somebody and they go, oh, you gave my grandson an apprenticeship, or you gave my laddie a wee opportunity, or whatever, and you're just
I
like,
usually got, you paid off my laddie, you paid off him.
You've gone to the wrong spots. What's the future for you? Where are you taken things off? What direction you gone in? And
I've not thought too much of it, to be honest. We've secured quite a lot of big jobs just now, so just try to get 2002 out of the way, to try and maintain and grow some more clients. That's a big thing for us, is also keeping the clients that we've got, getting some other ones in that are going to come back to us and potentially refer us to people. So that's a big thing for us going forward for this year, and whether it's been the years before. Is we just got an email. I just got an email on the way here, actually, for my first ever client. She's putting an extension on. So she emailed us in, so it's like great for us.
And is this for like 8 years ago then, or whatever it was?
Aye, so
back then.
Whatever it was. I'm not very good at maths.
Football fairs have been quite out.
Nearly 10 years.
I'm
trying 10 years
think...
this year, actually.
Aye.
It'll be 10 years for the company this year. So I was about 10 years ago. I've still done bits and bobs for her during the years, but it's a wee bit better when they come back to you. And you think you've got a wee bit of a chance for the job now.
Yeah. Is it a lot of repeat business then that you get?
You'll get repeat business.
Aye, that's
all
good.
Because everybody's like, "Oh, how many architects you're in?" I'm like, "Well, not many architects. None at all. It's word of mouth or repeat business with people." Whereas when I bought the company off the guy, he wasn't interested in repeat business. It was just to like do a job, next one, do a job. I think that was the mentality when it was 10, 15 years ago. It's like people were just, they weren't interested in keeping clients. There was just do a job, next one, do a job.
Get it done and on to the next one.
I was straight away like, I want that person to phone me back up and be like, "Oh, do you have advice on here, or do you know any electricians or plumbers?" Because it makes you feel a bit wanted, and makes you feel like, well, do you know what, we have got a reputation that we're actually pretty good.
That's really good. And what is all the services that you sort of offer then now? So I know it was started sash and case windows, and that was like almost like a niche, and now it's I've seen some of your stuff on LinkedIn and social media. It's like kitchen renovations, full house renovations.
Aye, so obviously we started with the sash and case. We still do that, whether it's refurbishment or full replacement. But yeah, we're kind of leading into the renovations and extensions and that as well. We have done for the past, good 6-7 years at least anyway. But I'm not going to brag about it, but I didn't really post a lot on. I've got a lot hidden. I didn't really put a lot on social media because I've not got time. But yeah, we've obviously done loads of work, but wee bits are coming here and there, and also we're now trying to show people, because you're now at the point, yourself, social media, everybody logs on it every second of the day to see it, and people probably pick tradesmen just for social media and nice pictures. But so that's kind of why we pushed into the social media side, to show people we can do other stuff, bar sash in case, or we can actually do this kind of work, or if you need any help with this one, we do that as well. So obviously we do the full refurbishments and supply obviously the full trades as well.
And for anybody out there then, they've shared quite a good bit of the journey there, and sort of highs and lows, and sort of gave a few good tips there on how, like, maybe to try and stay positive and get the team on board. Like, what would your advice be to those out there that's like, they're maybe looking to get into business and they're looking to do it? Like, could you say truthfully that you should give it a go?
In case all my guys leave. I think they need to. Like, I've worked for big companies, and you're a number. You're just a number. It depends what you want. People are happy to be numbers, and people are happy to get told what to do every day. But everybody that kind of starts, there's always something inside that wants them to do away. And a few people have said to me, and I've heard the stories, like, why did you start your own business? Was it, I think we talked about this before, was it to get the Range Rover or anything like that? It wasn't like a plan for me to start my own business. It just kind of happened. And everybody's like, so why did you do it? Or what's the benefits? And I'm still trying to figure out the benefits, actually. Because everybody's like, oh, I work 3 days a week, and I go on holiday 20 times a year. I drive the Range Rovers. I didn't do any of that. Nothing at all. So
and
I'm
so
waiting for it.
If you were trying to pinpoint it, why did you start up your own business then? You
Nobody else would take me on. That's all I had to. I would say that was it, really. I just kind of fell into it. But I know a lot of people that obviously they're debating to tip the edge whether to start, and I've had a few people that are like, I don't know whether to try it myself or no. Like, we're just coming out of COVID, and what about this? What about that? And I'm like, well, why not just try it? What's the worst that's going to happen?
There's never a good time,
Nah, there isn't a good time.
There's never a good time.
I mean, and even when it is a good time, there's still somewhere down the line it's going to be like, that's a rubbish day to start a business, But all I would say is, like, you definitely need to get a plan. I would probably advise a business coach, because if I'm looking back, I never had a clue about starting a business. I never had a clue about pricing or where, like, programs or anything like that. But there's never a good time to start anything. You have to try it. What's the worst case that's going to happen? Everybody's looking for guys nowadays, so you just go back to another company.
I think it's getting the right people around you, like you said there, whether that's a business coach, a mentor, whatever it is. Like one of the guys that I had on the podcast, Archie Meikle, he's just sort of exited his business, and he put a photo frame. He's framed the business plan for 1996, I think it was.
All
he's
right.
framed it and got it up on the wall, and he's exited. You know, they were doing 12 million turnover, 85 staff, and he sort of went to chairman and now the MD, and that's moved into his role. And like I just said to Archie, I said, I've not really got a good clue with business plans. I've got a bit of a vision. I'm kind of moving towards something, but I've not got something that I could concrete say, look, this is the plan. And he was like, well, I'll get you some templates and I'll pop in and see you. And it's like, these people want help.
Aye, that's
like,
a big
like
thing,
if you reach out to people, especially if you're just starting up, it's like, how do I do this? How do I do that? Like, a big part of it's like getting the right accountant on board and getting the right people around you. Like, if you try and do it all yourself,
you're going to struggle. Like,
you're going to struggle.
I think massively, like what you said, is touching base with people. They like guys that want to be roofers or joiners, electricians. That is a company that you think in your mind is a good company. Like, go and chat to the guy. Like, during lockdown, I spoke to Sean Rollo, and I've known Sean for years, but I've never had that conversation with him. And I remember going to his place. I was like, this is amazing, and it kind of gives you're like, hell man, I want to be like this. And he's a joinery company, great business and that. And he gave me loads of advice, and it kind of like, I think I'm older than him, but I was like, it's inspiration to see like he's done it.
Because we've all got getting grey hairs now.
I know,
because
I know,
of this business. We're like, who's oldest?
Mine's are still saying ginger, like that. And like I'm saying is, go and chatting to people that are in the business. Like, we are a similar company, but I wouldn't say we're rivals, we're good friends, and we help each other out now and again. And to go and speak to somebody, even like guys coming through, is just go and touch base with somebody who thinks like a great business or an inspiration. We're going to take 10 minutes out of our time to chat to you. If somebody phoned me up a wee bit of advice, I would do my best to try and help them, because there isn't a book for it. And if there isn't a book for it, it doesn't go to plan.
I honestly don't think there's many people that would turn around and say no.
Nah,
like, they might be busy, but they might say, look, I can't give you the answer right now, but give me a shout later on and I'll find the answer for you. Or it's like, sometimes you've got to remember back and be like, what did I do when I had that problem way back at the start? You've so much has happened to us as business owners that you just...
I think again as well is problem solving. A lot of it is problem. I say that to a lot of my guys, is like, you could be the best joiner in the world, the best electrician, but if you're not a problem solver, you're never going to get anywhere in life. And like you're saying with young guys coming through, is whether they've just done their apprenticeship and jumping board, is you need to get a bit of experience somewhere and do it. It is a hard one, like for people, because there's so much financial. People have got kids, people have got mortgages and houses, but there is always work there somewhere. And if you've touched base with a couple of businesses that are in your sector, is if it's not worked that way, there's always guys looking to help guys come in and sub it to them or do that, that you would probably find.
You'd never really be stuck in the trades,
I don't think you would be,
Like,
you'd have to be really to fucking no get a job with anybody. There's always somebody out there that would take you on.
Aye, that's what my dad said to me. It was because, like, the sort of work that he does, it's no classed as a trade. It's like pouring concrete floor, like putting the mesh in and doing the big concrete floors, and it's no like something you go to college to learn, basically. So he was like, no, you need to get like an actual trade that you'll get a qualification and you'll always have something to fall back on. And it's like, you have always got that there, because let's face it, like, we're all taking massive risks trying to run a business, and we'd be lying if we said, oh, we know what we're doing, because the reality is we're learning as we go, because there's no other real way.
Even with like older guys as well, it's not just the case people coming out of school. Guys are 30, 40, 45, 50 that are thinking, I want a career change. I'm going to try a trade. Like, why no, Why not just try it?
You learn faster at that age, I would say,
a lot faster.
You've got all the life experience.
You would hope anyway.
You would hope. You know what works and what doesn't work. And
I know a few people have took adult apprentices on. We actually never had any apply for us, like, but you would probably relate to it quite a bit, because you're like, well, you're gonna, Kenny's got kids, he's wanting to work as much as he can to try and help it. So people that are obviously a bit paranoid, and COVID's done it to everybody, they've reassessed their situation to be like, do I want to stay in this job? Do I want to be here? Do I want to do that? Why not?
What to change for people as well.
Try to change, that's it.
Definitely. Well, thanks for coming on, Jonathan.
Not a problem. Thanks very much.
Brilliant, mate, and all the best for the future with Newtown Renovations.
Thank you. Cheers.